about to begin a new stage, a new expansion in all sorts of unexpected ways. But, as I say, the light that has woken up inside of you, that you work on, you really develop inside yourself. And in a way you give the best part of your life to it. Because that is real spiritual service. That is real. It is not your light. It never was your light. It is the light of the divine or the light of what is real. It is one light. It can never be two lights because it is a dimension of pure oneness. Once you wake up on the plane of the self, you see it. Pure oneness, pure awareness. It is not your awareness. It is awareness. You know. It is not you know something. It's just present. There is this incredible awareness. There is this light. And it works quite differently. This is this plane of light upon light. Light speaks to light. Light communicates to light. It is very, very efficient. It has no miscommunication. It is how, in our particular tradition, most of the teaching is done. It is done, the Sufis say, from heart to heart. But it is that dimension of pure light within oneself. It's often also communicated through the brow chakra that works with light, or through the eyes. It's the light of the teacher talks to the light of the individual directly. It is a recognition, it is direct communication, it's very efficient. What I actually find interesting as a mystic is to see that this whole planet is evolving into working with light. And on many different levels. One of the most obvious, there are two obvious levels. One is that we're beginning to understand the potential of solar power. I'm quite convinced that in 100 years' time, solar power will be the energy source of the future on one level, because it's completely free and it completely does not pollute. It's a very, very beautiful energy source. We will learn how to work with light on the physical level. And also, it is a very, very important part of computer communication through fiber optic cables. It communicates on the level of light. There's a very interesting thing that in the last decade, more fiber optic cable has been laid around the world than anybody knows what to do with. They overexpanded. They thought it was going to be used for all sorts of things, and they put it around the world, and it's waiting there, ready to be used, this whole network of light. Because on fiber optic cables, you communicate with light very, very efficiently, very directly, almost instantaneously. And that's another level that light is going to be used. And then there is the whole, what we'd call spiritual dimension of working with light, which I think is very, very important. Which is because light is so powerful, and that light cannot be caught in ego dynamics. There are no power dynamics with light because it's free. It's about the only thing that's free and that is not polluted. Even the water's polluted. But light is free, light is not polluted, and the light of a human being, the real light of a human being, is the light of the divine within them. You cannot capture it, you cannot market it, you cannot sell it. Why? Because it functions in a different way, it functions on a different frequency. And it has to do with this inner potential, this inner transformative energy that is within all of us. And as I say, normally in the past, the only people who got to work in this way were those who'd made the journey, who'd realized their divine nature, who'd realized their oneness, who were living completely present within the Atma, within the self. And anything they looked upon became enlightened, because that was their nature. It was just reflected around them. But there is a way for people who come together with a spiritual awareness to allow their light to work together, to allow their light to communicate. It works because it is the divine light within you, and it is also part of the one. For example, you think sitting wherever you are in this room, you think there are all these different people sitting in the room. That is a complete illusion. That is just the one manifesting itself in different appearances, always remaining the one. It can never, ever be other than the one. The moment you say it is, you split the one into two. And the one is always the one. The light of the whole, the light of the world, is always the light of the world. It manifests itself in different ways. To have all these unique experiences of the one, yes. But you are not a separate person. You never were a separate person. You are a bit of light flashing into existence for a moment, bringing a bit of color out of non-being, speaking, then communicating to other bits of the one. And this is where it gets very, very beautiful, when the one begins to communicate with itself through the medium of the divine light of the human being. And that's what I really call working with light. And all one has to do, really, is to be open. As I said, the requirements before were you had to go through this intense process, and then you got the esoteric training of how to work on that level of oneness, on that level of divine light. But really, underneath, all you have to do is to say yes. To allow yourself, or allow the light within you to work in its true nature in relationship to the whole. To wake up to what it really is, which is one light. And then the miraculous can start to happen, because we are trapped within this illusion of our own individual self. Now you know that spiritually on your own journey, because the moment you awaken to anything, you realize that is an illusion, that is a prison, your individual self. But then you somehow, as Adyashanti was saying, you then claim it as my awakening. And you're caught in another illusion. It is never your awakening. That does not make any sense. Because that is the one thing the awakening freed you from. Something wakes up within you. The one wakes up within you. There's this lovely line from the poet Hafiz. What is all this love and all this laughter? It is the glorious sound of a soul waking up. Something within you, suddenly there is this moment of joy within the human being, this moment of laughter. That was my experience when I was 16 and I got woken up. Suddenly I laughed and laughed and laughed. I couldn't believe it. I thought the world was about one thing, and suddenly, in a moment, I realized it was about something else completely different. Completely different. This is when, like Adya was saying, you know that there was never a problem. There couldn't possibly be a problem. Of course, everything is just the way it ought to be. Not in any static sense, in a highly dynamic, continually changing way that needs your participation, that needs your aliveness, that needs your light. But then, what happens is you get that for a moment, then you go back to sleep, or you go into the snooze, And then you struggle again. But if we can recognize very consciously, use our little bit of conscious self that we have, you know that we are all one. We all know that by now. Even as a concept, right? Conceptually, we are all one. On this planet, we are all one. We're one ecologically. We're even now one economically, even though some have more of the one than the others. We're one on a communication level. I remember the first time I phoned my daughter. She was on a bus going from London to Oxford. I couldn't believe it. That I could just phone her and she could answer on the bus. We know we're one. You can phone anybody anywhere in the world, or and if you have a computer, you